Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Max from the Innisfil Idea Lab and Library. In today's Code Jams, we are going to learn how to create a Mad Libs style game. Mad Libs, the classic game, is a word game where you're asked for a series of words or asked a series of questions, and then the answers you give are slotted into a brand new story that usually has kind of a humorous result because the story template already exists, the words are brand new, and were kind of given out of context. So as you slot your answers in, the story takes on a nice humorous tone, ideally. And so the game we'll make is very similar to that in effect. To create our game, we're going to create a list of questions, ask the player those questions, receive input, and then slot those inputs into a new story using programming structures in the Python programming language. If you want to see a full text version of this program, head to github.com/mlupo/idealabcodejams. On that page, you can find all the different CodeJam sessions we've run and their accompanying code. And so feel free to copy and paste that as you desired and work from there, or follow along the video, pausing as we go. It all starts with, of course, our list of questions. In order to get some questions on the screen, we're going to make a variable titled questions, perhaps, and then choose one equal sign. In Python, variables are defined by giving them a name, using one equal sign, which is the assignment operator, and then whatever's on the right side of the equal sign will become usable using that variable name. To make things easy on us with this particular project, we're going to learn about and use lists. Lists in Python are defined by the square brackets. So a left square bracket and a right square bracket will create an empty list. Kind of boring for our purposes right now, but that's all it takes to make a list that's empty. We can put just about anything in that list. We can put strings in there. So let's make a few quick questions. How about, what is your name? So a string in Python, of course, begins and ends with a quotation mark. Specifically, the same quotation mark used to start it has to be the one that ends it. So the same quotation mark at the beginning and the end. Lists then are separated by commas. So we put a comma, put our second question in. What was the last place you visited? So, valid string. We can put these on separate lines just for readability. Tab, tab, tab. Comma outside the quotation marks. What is your favorite color? Pretty typical question. We can ask for these different items in the list by calling them using their index. To do that in Python, we type in the variable name and then use square brackets again to call the index for that item. And so lists in Python start with the number 0 and they go up from there. So our list would have 0, 1, and 2. So 3 items from 0 to 2. We can test this out by printing out the middle item and using the print function to show us what's in there. So functions, of course, in Python start with a word and then left bracket, right bracket. Print is a built-in function within the Python programming language. So we can run this, take a look. So it did what we asked. It printed the second item in the list, what was the last place you visited, which is index item number 1. To go through the list and print them out all in order, we can use a for loop. So for is another keyword in Python. And what it does is it sets up a loop where it goes for each item within a given iterable object. And so for each item, what we've just written there, the word item, is a placeholder variable that we're going to use to go through our list. Of course, it could be anything since it's just a placeholder. You often see this in code, for I. I like for item personally, or you can make it more descriptive. You can say for each question in questions, but then you have a lot of similar words. So for now, for each item in questions, what we can do, just to see if it works, we can print each item. And so what the for loop is doing, kind of on its own, and that's kind of a nice special favor for us, it's going to go through the questions list, and for each item in questions, it's going to print out each item one at a time. So one at a time. To maybe make it more clear what's happening, I like to put a little space in between here. So if you print an empty parenthesis, or sorry, empty quotation marks here, it's just going to print out a blank line. There's no quotation marks here because we are calling this placeholder variable over here. And so we're using a variable name. We don't use quotation marks. Quotation marks are used for strings. So let's just run that and see what happens. Great. What is your name? What was the last place you visited? What is your favorite color? Probably where, makes more sense here. So good, pretty good. We printed out the questions, of course, but we didn't receive any player input. We can do that by adding the player input to a new list and then asking for that input. So outside the for loop, we're going to ask for some answers. And we're going to give that to an empty list, to square brackets. And then in our for loop here, we can call the answers list and then append it. Every object in Python, so a list is a type of object, answers is a list. Every object in Python has a set of methods available to it that are accessed by using this dot notation. So answers.append is forcing the program to call this little mini function that lives inside answers. And what it does is it adds to the list. There are many other methods available. This one here is for adding. Of course, there's methods for taking away. But right now we want to add. And what we want to add is the input from the player. So another built-in function in Python, very similar to print, but in reverse, is the input function, which forces the program to take in user information in the form of a string. So to the answers list, we're going to append player input, then print out a blank line. So if we do this, it'll ask for input one after another. And then just to see what happens, we can print off the answers all at once by going into answers over here. So at the end of the for loop, we're just going to print off all the answers just to see how it all worked. So run, what was your name? Taylor. Where was the last place you visited? The moon. What's your favorite color? Diamond. So we print off our answers, Taylor, the moon, diamond. Not too bad. Of course, it doesn't make a great story, 3 random sets of information. So before we print anything off, we're going to create a variable, story, and we're going to assign it to a special type of string that formats the information we put into it. So before the string begins, we're going to type the letter F. So that's the letter in this case that indicates to Python whatever we put in this string is a little special. It's going to include things we type as well as information from our variables, and it's going to format them all together. So F, start off a string, hello, and this is the fun part. This is where the formatting comes into play. We're going to ask for one of our variables and automatically put that into the string to use later. And we're going to use curly braces to put in bits of information. So hello, answers. The first question we asked was, what is your name? So answers 0, exclamation point. So we're still inside the string. We haven't really left the string. We're using the curly braces to reach out into other parts of our program and pull in other bits of information. So answers 0. Hello, answers 0. Welcome to answers. Oops. Answers 1. Welcome to answers 1, where the sky is always. Answers 2. And then we have to end that off with a quotation mark here. So I'm going to zoom out a bit so we can see it all in one line. So, hello, answers 0. Welcome to answers 1, where the sky is always answers 2. So the answers list will accept input one at a time, starting at the 0 index point, going up to the number 2 index point. So 0 to 2, 3 answers. And that should pair up with our questions. There are other ways to generate this type of program that doesn't involve us having to kind of figure out which number is which, but for a simple game like this is totally fine for now. So instead of printing the answers, let's print off our story and see if it all works. What is your name? Jason. What was the last place that you visited? Pizza Island. What's your favorite color? Blue. Enter. Hello, Jason. Welcome to Pizza Island, where the sky is always blue. So a simple 3-question and answer story, but already pretty fun if you ask me. Of course, you can always extend it by going further and further on. Just add another comma and add another question. So what is your favorite food? So another string here after another comma. And then, of course, we should probably print off a little bit more here. So tonight we feast on the finest curly brace, answers, square bracket, 3, square bracket, curly brace. Tonight we feast on the finest blank, exclamation point. So we've extended our original string, used the curly brace to reach out into our program, asked for the answer here, and we want the third index, or the third index, the item at the third index, anyway, the fourth item, haha, the fourth item indicated by the number 3. What is your name? Tina. Where was the last place you visited? Nebraska. What is your favorite color? Yellow. What's your favorite food? Pasta. Hello, Tina. Welcome to Nebraska, where the sky is always yellow. Tonight we feast on the finest pasta. Pretty good. Pretty good. And so I hope you take this as an opportunity to create your own stories. Use this as a way to, make a fun Mad Lib game or whatever comes to mind using this kind of programming structure. And I hope you share it with us at the library. So thanks again for watching, and I hope to hear from you soon.